Hey guys, so sorry about that. My bitch called me and I just had to get back with her because I haven't heard from her in a little bit. Shout out to you, Pro. What up, girl? So, yes, bitch, let my Bantu not shine. As I was saying though, I'm dating these black cis dudes and it's like me being the intro to and then like I had to think about the layers of that shit too, because it's like like male assigned folks, like the conditioning, male conditioning is very much anti emotion. So I feel like in way, or rather like it has wrongfully made emotions out to be a gender thing, which is unfortunate because we all have emotions. But I feel like when I say to a black man, you know, this is how we are oppressed, this is how you are oppressed, this is how I am oppressed, you know what I mean? Individualizing this shit, especially as a black female bodied person, I think typically when I'm dating cis men, especially cis black men, I really don't out myself as a trans person, and that's typically because like I feel like it's something that it takes a lot of conversations about, I think, and it's like obviously not my fault that I don't want to like out myself to someone that I might not be with for a minute, but I feel like outside of like talking about my blackness, outside of talking about my identities that are like quite apparent, because I feel like my trans identity is often invisibilized or used as a pejorative. Like I feel like when people call me trans, that's either to make fun of me, um, or it's just not seen because I do have cis privilege. Um, but as I was saying, I'll be with these black cis men and I'll be trying to talk about, my individual run-ins with misogynoir, fat phobia, and I will be talking, intersectionally because I am a black, fat, cis appearing person. Or passing person. So, with that said, I try to like be mindful of all of those things in tandem, with my other identities. But as I said, when I don't talk about my transness and I talk about situations from a standpoint of a female bodied person, it can also be hard because again, feminism is extremely racist. So then I'm not even. I'll meet these black men that are like, I'm a feminist, and I'll be like, here's why you're not, and then I'll go in on his privilege, and I'll go in and let him know like cis dudes are not fucking cis dudes are not feminists. Like you're not a feminist. Like you might have an understanding of what feminism is, and even that is a stretch because again, feminism has been co-opted from womanism, which means that it has been like snatched by like white feminists. And I feel like a lot of times, like one time in particular, I'm dating this black cis man and he's telling me all about these white feminist people that he's like friends with, and like he's bigging up like this one fat white feminist, like talking about fat phobia. And I'm just like, bitch, I already do this. Like, how about a big up from me? Why don't you tell your white feminist friends about me? You feel me? But I just felt like he was like, all of his feminist training came from the lens of these white guilt ridden white fucking feminists. And so like even when he would talk about things that were valid that they had brought up, in terms of like one of the white women that he was friends with brought up the fact that she worked in a lower Ninth Ward museum, and she realized that by working there she could see the history of gentrification, and it was real for her, and she was like, damn, like I'm another white person just snatching up land. And he really was just like, I don't think like you should think of it like that, and really just trying to encourage her not to see herself as a white person who was a fucking gentrifier. And I was like, damn, like these white feminists got you fucked up in the sauce. Like they got you calling yourself a feminist, but they don't got you standing in solidarity with like, black folks that look just like your ass, that are just, watching their fucking land be taken away by these white feminists you love so goddamn much. So I feel like in ways it's very hard, when I'm talking to these seemingly new black, in terms of some Pharrell shit, cis men that I'm not knowing that they're on some new blackness shit. obviously, until I start outing myself. And I find that more so than ever, I do that shit early on. I start talking early on about oppression. I start talking early on about, you know, things that are related to being in an oppressive ass space. And I try to just out myself, you know, as often as I can, but I will say that there's a degree of safety that I try to keep in mind when I'm like dating these, you know, these cis men in gen. But like, especially when it's like a black cis man, I think like for a long time, my inability to really, you know, seek out a partnership with a black cis man really stemmed from anti-blackness for sure. Also, like, I think like one of my earliest thoughts about becoming sexually active was believing the lie that a lot of like cis black men could potentially be, you know, bisexual, queer, and like me not know, and me getting cheated on or left for a man, which is obviously homophobia, and just you know, rampant like possessiveness, and there's it's just steeped in a lot of things, and anti-blackness, of course, and racism. But like for me to believe for any amount of time that like I would be more uh, likely to sustain an STI or anything from a non-white person, but especially a black person, is just extremely unacceptable. And I feel like, you know, after like educating and doing the healing work to understand why someone would think that, or why someone would pathologize black cis men like that, it's just like, it's mind-boggling, and it's just like worry inducing as well, because again, I'm someone who's on the other side of this shit at this point, where I'm like able to understand, okay, that's internalized racism, okay, that's, you know, internalized, you know, white supremacy, like all of these things. But it's like there's so many people out here operating without that knowledge, and like it's scary, because like again, when you out yourself, when you put yourself in the crosshairs, when you speak up, you know, there are times where there's no safe way to do it. And like if you do it, obviously, you know, points go on the board for you for like doing what the fuck you felt like you had to do. But at the same time, it could be just that quick that like you lose a job, you lose endorsements, you lose a lot of things. And I've already talked about this before. I've like lost a lot of people in my life. I lost a lot of opportunities in my life just outing myself as someone who's not really down with like, you know, perpetuating white supremacy. And it's extremely disheartening, obviously. But as I've been talking about, it's extremely disheartening, like trying to find companionship in a white supremacist nation, because I'm left with so many, like I'm a very calculating person, so you know, I'll be going on dating sites and I'll be like, okay, well this person obviously is objectifying me for this, and it's like it's as I said, like it's something that I can't turn off. So there's so many things that are linked to oppression that people don't have to talk to you for very long for you to realize what their values are and what lies they have bought, you know, as part of being in an oppressive system. And sometimes it's just like so much to handle. I get why people retreat, why people isolate themselves, but also I get why it's like extremely hard, you know, for us to like really find each other, because as someone else put, I'm gonna share this as well. Excuse me. I'm like, oh, I gotta share this. Sorry. There's somebody singing outside. I love when I hear people singing outside, because it's just like, it just makes me happy. Like that person feels like, I'm gonna sing outside. You know what I mean? So many people don't sing outside. I'm dead. I'm sorry. I'm like fucking this up. I'm fucking this shit up. Sorry. There's a person that I like recently like became Facebook friends with, who wrote something on a situation that happened earlier. Like part of like me wanting to have this conversation was also about you know, online dating and like racism, because like there's this white person who certainly called me a nigger as soon as I asked them not to fucking exotify me. And it was just like so gross, because it's like, you know, I can't tell you how many times like men, especially white cis men, have told me that I was exotic, and I used to like not really think about it, but like the more that I'm like educating myself on language and like just how people are othered, it reminds me that like this person doesn't really see me as a person, like that they're like exotifying me, that they're literally like telling me I don't like when a white person says you look exotic, they're literally saying, "Hey, you're not white." Why? You know? Or when a white person asks you what you are, it's like I can't really tell what you are. So like what are you? You're not white. Like I can tell that you're not white, because white is such a default that like a white person really feels like the authority to ask you what you are. And obviously other people of color and black folks do it to other black folks. And I even have a white friend that is constantly asked what her nationality is, or excuse me, constantly asked what her ethnicity is. So because of that, obviously there are intersections of all types of shit. But I will say that for someone to call me exotic, it just makes me think, damn, this person's not really seeing me as a person. Like if all they can comment on is how not white I look. So exotic is not a compliment. P.S. Exotic is for flamingos and like white jelly beans. Actually, no, the white ones, are the white ones nasty? Like the popcorn ones? Those ones are fucking disgusting. I don't even know how people be eating that shit. So anyways, but this white person called me exotic and I sent him a couple links. And that's the thing though, like look, like work. Constantly doing work, right? Like someone white calls me and it calls me exotic and I send him links to why being called exotic is not a compliment. With a message that basically says, baby, like no, women of color don't want to be called exotic. We don't want to be told that we don't want to be called exotic because we realize we're not white and we're not basic. Like that's basically what I said. And then he tells me that I'm racist for bringing up my race, that like black people are obviously more caught up on race. And I'm just like sitting here like, for real? So then I just went in on him and I was just like, dude, do you call white women exotic? Like, is that something you reserve for women of color only, And you're the one who brought up my race, you're the one who told me I look exotic, you know what I mean? And that's what irks me is, there is this idea that all comments are warranted, all comments are wanted. And what I wanted to get into was, this person eventually ends up calling me a nigger, and I like contacted like their employer, and I put up a bunch of posts like so that people know exactly who they are, because it's just interesting to me how like things can escalate from you're so exotic to you're a nigger. And that's what I mean. There is no middle ground. To call me exotic is to call me not like other women. And what women are default normal, what women are defaulted as like as the most basic prototype of what a woman is, what femininity is. It's definitely steeped and rooted in whiteness. So for me to get a compliment like that, or for that to be seemingly a compliment, just lets me know how obviously oppressed this person's mind is by how much they have really bought that like anything that's not white is exotic. This woman that I'm talking to, she's not pretty, she's not beautiful, she's exotic. You know what I mean? She's not even a human. But as I was saying, this person named Ursula, which I think is like the coolest name, they wrote something about dating, because my friend Jason says, I don't understand why somebody can't approach someone and just add a compliment like, you seem very lovely. Would you mind if we talked? And Ursula says, I feel that desired eroticism isn't only played out by white dudes. It's also played out by white female-assigned folks as well. I use this language because I see white queer folks doing the same. This desire to match the false icon of exotic, self-proclaiming some sort of trans ethnicity. What the fuck? And then says to my friend Jason, most people assume that when on a dating site, all are out to have sex are desperate. Redefining dating or destroying the word is desirable. Creating spaces where folks can just kick it, getting sweaty if they consensually desire. I had to kind of take it back because I was like, it's true. These dating websites have redefined dating in lots of ways. I know for me personally, if I wanted to fuck tonight, I could go on a dating site right now and find someone that would be consenting and interested. Is that problematic? I don't think so inherently, but I think that there can be so many experiences had on dating sites, such as I've met friends, I've met old family members, seemingly weird. Like it's very weird. Like I've met people that were my family members that I didn't know. So like dating sites have really created a lot of things outside of sex for me. However, it is true that the male entitlement in tandem with dating sites makes it very scary at times to talk and engage with these men, because it's almost like the veneer is so thin. You know that like a majority of the men you're coming in contact with are not looking for a relationship. They are literally looking for someone to occupy time and space with for however long, you know, it takes them to fucking come. And then they're more concerned with like what the next conquest might be. And I feel like from time to time, you know, I bounce in and out of, you know, do I give a fuck that like this person I could be meeting is really only like talking to me because I seemingly have a vagina, to the other extreme where I'm kind of just like, you know, fuck that. No, I'm not gonna fucking deal with any of these like cis dudes on here because I'm not into getting used. But I mean, I feel like again, it's intersectional how things work. There are times where I am like down for a fuck. There are times where I'm like super down to like, you know, meet someone and just explore each other's bodies. But for the most part, I would have to say that I'm always looking to like make a friend or make some sort of connection. And I feel like a lot of these cis dudes, and I'm not gonna categorize it by race, because I will say that it's happened in many situations where, you know, you go on these dating sites and it's very quick before like, or rather it's very quick that like you learn what the motive is. It's not really a lot of hey, how are you, pleasantries, niceties. And it gets to the point where like there are some times where like you can tell from the first message this person sends, this shit is about sex, or you can tell by the third message that they send, or you can tell by the way that they're talking with like these random statements, not really asking you any questions, just trying to figure out how down you are to fuck. It can be a lot. But especially, you know, but then when you add the race connotations, you know, I get a lot of cis white dudes that like want to fuck real bad. And they don't only want to fuck, they want to fuck a black girl real bad. And I would say that like one of my most like insulting situations was when I was with someone who told me that I looked like Nicki Minaj. And I kind of had a pause moment where I was like, what the fuck? And I kind of tried to like figure that out in my head. I was like, how many black women are on TV? Okay. I'm like, because there are a super lot of black women on TV, but as far as like black women being on TV, black women wearing like blonde weaves, you know what I mean? I felt like it was the weave, like coupled with perhaps my lipstick. I was just trying to figure out what he meant by that. And then again, white people only know so many black people, you feel me? White people only know so many black people. They could tell you some black songs though, but they do not know that many black fucking people. A lot of times these black celebrities, they only know a handful of them, you feel me? So you know, he told me I look like fucking Nicki Minaj, and obviously I'm not insulted. Nicki Minaj is gorgeous, but it's just like it was just like damn, you know what I mean? It's kind of like whenever I'm like natural and niggas want to call me motherfucking Jill Scott. I remember that shit. It's like damn, it's like I could only, you know, the lane for black womanhood is only so big. You can only be so many black celebrities because these white people don't know who the fuck they are. Okay, so. But then I think like what kind of took it a step further is he makes the remark like right after about 5-10 minutes that like he's never had sex with a black woman before, and like I had already like hooked up with him, so I was kind of annoyed that he's telling me this, and I'm like, but you already did though, past tense, you know what I mean? And from what you're saying, you liked it, so it's like I'm supposed to take this as a compliment that you never fucked a black bitch before, and I like rocked it, I was doing the damn thing, but it's like damn, why can't it just be I never been with you before. You know what I mean? You never been with me before. You ain't with every black woman. My pussy's not a universal black experience. You feel me? So many things to talk about, I guess, in this video. I could go on for a lot longer. But I think I'm gonna close it down today, and then we're gonna open up tomorrow. Please send me some suggestions on what you guys want to talk about. I have a million things I can talk about. I want to talk about the Santa Barbara shooter, but I feel like there's already so many videos out there that are so good. I don't know that I could add that much more, so I feel like in ways I figured I would just center a lot of my conversations about black female body folks, like just trying to navigate dating and finding companionship in this wayward ass bitch. All right, so we'll talk soon.